The Thoroughbred Owners and Breeders Association, in partnership with the Fasig-Tipton Sale Company, has established a new concierge service for owners and breeders at racetracks. The purpose is to give them first-class customer service. Help them find seating, find great restaurants to eat at, all that good stuff. Concierge business is kind of off to a rough start, though. It seems California Chrome owner Steve Coburn is kind of unhappy because the service couldn't find him a Cracker Barrel in Dubai. And welcome to the opening day edition of Lennys Place. We're chock full of material today. We'll get to the California Chrome blockbuster news in a second. First, I want to note the passing of trainer Alan Jerkins. I didn't know Mr. Jerkins well, although he was kind enough to talk with me every time that I would call him with an interview request. But to see him each morning heading to the racetrack on horseback, that imposing figure under the white hat, you knew it was going to be a good day in New York. There was racing. Everything was going to be all right. 3 days after Alan Jerkins passed, his son Jimmy had the mare Classic Point in the Inside Information Stakes at Gulfstream. I was fortunate enough to be visiting Florida, and you just couldn't help wondering if some otherworldly power may lend a hand in that race. There was a 1-5 favorite named Mary Meadow. She just won a similar stake by 10 lengths. But this is horse racing, and sometimes things happen you can't really explain. Well, Classic Point did win the Inside Information for Jimmy Jerkins, and watching the tears well up in that winner's circle from Jerkins and everybody else who was there, it was enough to make you believe that higher spirits just may have been involved. It was enough to make you believe that racing sometimes can be a really special sport. California Chrome, may lightning and hail strike me, but I'm going to say it. California Chrome is a more popular horse than he is a great horse. Great horses don't lose 5 out of 6 races in their prime. Great horses pass other horses in crunch time. They overcome and they win. He's talented, he's a trier, he just isn't great. What he did have was a great underdog story, and even that has been undermined now by his owners, who have proven to be as dumb as they themselves advertised. You don't ask your horse to do things he can't succeed at so you can make money like they did going to the Pennsylvania Derby, and because you want to prove how smart you are, as they're doing now with this Royal Ascot nonsense. Over the past week, we've finally seen some rustling in an attempt to actually get drugs out of the veins of racehorses. The Kentucky Horse Racing Commission, which a couple of years ago did try to run some 2-year-old stakes LASIK-free, has recently approved a regulation allowing Kentucky racetracks to card LASIK-free races. Keeneland immediately came on board and said it would do just that for some 2-year-old races in 2016. Oh my goodness, get some long beams, let's make sure the sky doesn't fall. Then we have the cavemen at the Kentucky Horsemen's Benevolent and Protective Association, who oppose anything that would make trainers get off their butts and do something differently. Of course, they oppose running LASIK-free races in 2016 because, and I'm not kidding, quote, it could be a precursor to running the 2015 Breeders' Cup LASIK-free. Let me repeat that. They're against running races LASIK-free in 2016 because it could be a precursor to running the 2015 Breeders' Cup LASIK-free. I wish I was making this stuff up. I am so pleased to be able to welcome Bloodstock Agent Donato Lenny to Lenny's Place in tandem with trainer Bob Baffert. Donato has at sales helped select, I think you've heard some of these horses, Dortmund, Bayern, Secret Circle, Looking at Lucky, Midnight Lucky, Eden's Moon, Contested, Drill, Opportunity, Executive Privilege, and many, many more. Donato has that for an introduction. Is that all right?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It looks like you practiced that. That's pretty good.
It's pretty amazing how many good horses you've been
you're good.
involved with, I'll tell you that. Donato, you have a lot of success working with Bob Baffert. How long did it take for you and Bob working together to get to the point for you to know exactly what he's looking for and for you two to build up the trust that you need to be successful?
I think Bob is one of the best at picking out young talent, either it be as a yearling or a 2-year-old. So I got the privilege to work with him. I think maybe I'd say 10 years ago, we started working. I've known Bobby for maybe 15 years, plus 13, 14, 15 years. But I think we started together about 10 years ago, where we started just working together, looking at horses together, and his affiliation with Hill and Dale and John Secure, got me a little bit closer to Bob, and then just having to build a trust with Bob, where he could trust me and I could trust him. And I think that's, it's a relationship where you just have to let your guard down and just trust each other. And we're just working with him and knowing what he wants, knowing what he wants to train, what he doesn't like to, what he can't live with, or what he wants to live with. And that's more important, is knowing what to stay away from. Is just as important as what you're looking for. When you kind of know what you're looking for, and it's really hard to find, and that's why you got to go to every sale and look at every horse. But you also got to know, especially what he doesn't want. And if you buy him something that he doesn't want, you'll hear about it. And so I think just through a lot of failed experiences, you learn really quick.
Well, let me ask you something. A sale like Keeneland's September sale with 4,000, 5,000 horses, how many horses will you have whittled that list down to by the time Bob gets to town and, for him to look at? How many horses will be on that list?
On a daily basis, if we looked at 200 horses that, 250 horses that we go through the sales rate, probably we'll make it draw down to about 10 horses.
A day?
A day, yeah. 10 horses that we've selected for him to look at. So that's about right. I mean, that's for him, that's what he wants.
Yeah.
Everybody's different.
What makes your success so special to me is you're not necessarily buying colts and fillies by Tappet. Yeah, Dortmund is by Big Brown, who is on his way out of Kentucky at that point. Bayern is by Awfully Wild, who knows what else he's produced as far as being good horses. You've told me you actually keep your catalog closed when you're looking at horses, so you're not concerned with pedigree. What, as far as you can put it into words, what do you look for when you're looking at that horse?
When I'm at a horse sale, Bobby would, going back to Bob, he's always said, just use your instincts, use your gut feeling. I don't care, who they're by, and I don't care about the family. We're not pedigree snobs. It doesn't matter. Just you got to find athletic horses that are made sound and are athletic and have class, and that's the main thing about finding these horses is you don't have to look at your catalog. You don't have to. It doesn't matter who it's by. All that at the end of the day, when you go to buy him, and he's by Tappet, out of a good female family, that just means he's going to cost a lot of money. But so the main thing is you can't forgive athletic horses. So we try to find horses that are super athletic, that are really light on their feet, that are correct enough, and they're just made right and they're sound. They're happy horses and they're classy horses. Like Bayern was that way. He wasn't perfect up front. There's a lot of things about him you change, but mentally he was a very sound horse that was happy and had everything we wanted. And Dortmund was the same way. And they both came out of phase at Tipton, Maryland, and so
A lot of your job is figuring out what you can forgive. Would you say that that's correct? I mean, that's how you buy a horse that somebody else passed on. So you're not buying horses for $2 million. You're buying horses for $100 or $200 or $300,000.
Yeah, you're right. There are horses that we look at that, find a reason to want to buy this horse, as opposed to, I think a lot of times people subconsciously kind of look for a reason why I shouldn't buy this horse. Mm-hmm. And there's no perfect horse out there. When you look at them, everybody could pick a horse apart. They're never perfect, but you just got to, try to realize for you what's more important than anything else. Some people, it's pedigree. They won't buy a horse with no pedigree, and I respect that. But at the end of the day, when they run on if they're athletic or not, if they've got the class or not.
Right.
You never know where they're going to come from.
Well, speaking of running, we got Dortmund running this coming Saturday in the Santa Anita Derby. He's done nothing wrong this year. Tell me what scared others off of him. You bought him for $140,000. What did you like about him?
He caught my eye when he would just come to the racetrack and gallop on the racetrack, and he looked like he wanted to train. He liked this job. He wanted to be on the racetrack. He enjoyed being there. And then at the breeze show he worked, his breeze was great, and his gallop out was really good. And then he came back from his breeze, and he cooled out fine, and he came the next day with sound. Every day you go look at him, and every day his weight was good. He never lost weight. A lot of really nervous horses after they breeze will start losing a lot of weight. I think the price on the horse. I think obviously Big Brown kind of scared some people off, and and probably he didn't have there were some things about his vetting that weren't perfect. But going back to you got to assemble a team of people around you that really help you out throughout your day, and that is I've got two really good assistants, Catherine Hudson and Rita Rosselli, who work with me at the sales and who have to put up with me at the sales, and that's not easy to do. But Dr. Bill Baker, who's a vet, mm-hmm. and he's I wouldn't use anybody else but him. And there's a lot of things like a lot of vets will fail certain horses, and he's passed a lot of horses that a lot of vets have failed.
Yeah.
Like Looking at Lucky was one that a lot of people have failed. It was just like baby stuff. It was nothing major, but he was okay with it. In Dortmund, there were some things about him that immaturity stuff that a lot of vets kind of, didn't pass him, and he passed him, and so that's I think those are two reasons why he didn't bring more money than that. But which is fine. It's nice to buy one for that. You never know what they're going to bring. But the good ones, you just got to try to buy them.
You've probably made Big Brown Stallion career in New York, I'll tell you that. Do you yearlings where you're kind of doing the guesswork into the future versus 2-year-old sales where you actually see them breeze on the track? Do you have a preference? Is one easier than the other as far as picking out good horses?
The yearling sales, you look at like the September sales, there's just a lot more to look at. I do prefer the 2-year-old sales, to be honest with you, Lenny. It's a thinking, more of a thinking game in the 2-year-old sales. There's a lot more things you got to do. You spend more time looking at the horse. As a yearling, you're judging him on the shank. You're watching him walk down and back, and stand still. And there's not much you can do. Mm-hmm. But at the 2-year-old sales, you just get to see him gallop. You get to see him work. You get to see how they behave going to the track, coming off the racetrack, and that's where it's at. That's where they do all their running, is on the racetrack, and so you get to see that side of them.
Yeah. For you to pick out these horses by stallions like Eddington, Big Brown, and Awfully Wild, you're doing something right. You're a great Bloodstock agent. You're a great friend, and you're a great trainer of dogs as well as horses. I love your dogs. Want to thank the Not Lenny for dropping by Lennys Place today. Want to thank our friends at Hillendale Stallions, and of course you viewers. Drop by April 14th for the next Lennys Place. We'll see you then, everybody.